Chapter 8 comes out in 2 days. I know. Finally, the drought is over. At least the first one. I wanted to make a quick video explaining everything you need to know before Chapter 8 because it's been a while since Chapter 7 in 70X. And to be honest, I forgot some things. You may have noticed I didn't do a theory video on Chapter 7 or 70X. Mostly because they didn't give me any clues to go off of. I couldn't really extrapolate anything. I did have one theory video about Hooded Helia that never saw the light of day. I scripted it, recorded it, started editing it, and then I stopped because I wasn't confident at all and it was kinda bad. I went a little nuts. Everything I said sounded like a reach and was a little out there even for my standards, but I still felt it was important to talk about, so I figured the next best thing was to give you all what I found and remove the crazy tinfoil hat parts. There still will be a little theorizing though. Hooded Helia is a cold-hearted Siren XP that lives in Helia's head and only cares about revenge. But if you look at her past, you'll realize she had a very tough life. When you complete the chapter, you get 7 Valkyrie Chronicles that only make her story sadder. The first one is a eulogy, presumably written by Hooded Helia, followed by 2 through 6, which follows the same tragic pattern. Hooded Helia meets someone, they become friends, and then they die. It's starting to make sense why Hooded Helia wants Helia to be alone. Hooded Helia has always ended up alone, one way or the other. There are some things that are a bit weird though. The chronicles talk about Saint Freya and Sheiksal like Hooded Helia and the friends she met were all part of Saint Freya, even though we've never heard of these people before. There is even someone who has an unusual obsession with bitter melon juice, just like a certain principal we know. It has similarities to our stuff, but is very different. In Chronicle number 7, it all goes downhill. The 8th calamity has destroyed 70% of the population. Sheiksal is about to turn into a graveyard. Everything is pretty much toast, which is weird because it's not, and everyone is still alive. This reminds me a lot of the previous era, how the 14th eruption destroyed everything. Fuhua, Kevin, and some others went into cryogenic sleep for 2,000 years and rebuilt civilization for the current era. So I'm thinking, is this a forgotten third era? It even says to give human civilization time to relive its glory, I must activate the sealing mechanism now. That is heavily reminiscent of the cryogenic sleep in the previous era. Plus, that would make sense of all the similarities and why there's even a second Helia in the first place. If the previous era had Dr. May and we have May in the current era, it makes sense in my brain that we would have Hooded Helia in the Knights era and Helia in the current era. If this is a forgotten third era, why has this only been mentioned to us now? I only assume it's forgotten because no one has ever mentioned this before, not even the Flame Chasers. Along with Valkyrie Chronicles, it also has the word remnant in parentheses, so I wonder if these 7 documents are the only thing that remains from this era, and Hooded Helia is the only one who can remember it. Why is she the only one who has this information? How did she survive the destruction of her era? Well, if you look at her closely, it looks like she has some mechanical parts to her, so maybe she modified her body to help her survive. That's all I have about Hooded Helia. As for the rest of Chapter 7, there isn't anything much, but there are a few things. At the beginning of the chapter, after the cast confronts Vita about what the heck happened with Coralie, she says sooner or later they'll start suspecting the other shoes. Investigating her on my own time won't be easy. The 7 shoes hold a significant place in Mars's history. I would ask Ajita, but I'd rather not interact with her. What does this mean? Does this prove us right? Probably not. The her most likely refers to a different person because she says Ajita's name 2 sentences after. If I had to guess, I'd say it's Layla, but if it is, why would Vita say all this stuff about the 7 shoes then? Vita definitely knows something, and Ajita is not off the suspect list yet. We found out that Litost was actually a codename for every person that organizes the 10 Shoes War, and of course no one knew that except for Ajita. Why is it always her? The clones are apparently eclipse shadows, and that's all we know about the clones for now because Ajita still doesn't give us answers, even when we tell her that we don't know. I guess she's just a little silly like that. Litost and Senadina are from a different planet. This is the only time we hear about this. They gave us no extra information in this chapter. They kinda left us hanging with that one. As for 7EX, I already summarized the lore from that in this video, but to keep everything in one place, I will be putting that section of this video here. Sorry for that, but I'm working on a tight schedule here. Take it away, past me. We did get some lore sprinkled throughout this chapter as well. It's not much, and that's fine, it's an interlude, but I appreciate that we got something. The last 2 lines of the chapter was Layla talking to Dreamseeker, and that makes me think that Layla is trying to get Dreamseeker on the same page as her. In chapter 4, Layla made Dreamseeker obsessed with finding Senadina so she could feel the same desperation and despair that Layla did to try and get her to the same conclusion as she did. Why is she doing this? What is her goal? I'm not sure, but we'll see what happens with that. Litost is in this chapter. He had something to do with Layla's past, and he even watched her grow up. That reveals that just like Ajita, Litost isn't just one of the 7 shoes. There's something more to him, and his past runs deep. This chapter brings up the planet Senadina and Litost come from every now and then. Litost says there was some sort of tragedy that happened there, and in the Lion and Deer story, Senadina says that her, Litost, and someone that I'll talk about later went from somewhere they call home to Mars. When Layla is having a breakdown in front of Serapeum, she mentions a woman from Perusha, and we all know who that is. This tells us that Vita has spoken with Layla in person before, and that she probably lied in chapter 5 when she said she didn't know anything else. If anything, this just makes me question Vita's motives even more. I know her whole thing is that she's free now, no one can tell her what to do, and she wants to do whatever she wants, but does being free include saying the nastiest thing you can say to someone? If you're just going to insult us, why are you even here? Just leave. There's a new character, her name's Naralab. This new character just adds to the mountain of questions we have, like, okay, what's her story? What does she have to do with Layla? Why hasn't she at least been mentioned in the previous 7 chapters? Where is she now? She's looking for a path to her end, which is only slightly depressing. Path and end are in quotes though, so who really knows what she's talking about here? Layla says that that's expected because she never truly belonged to humanity. She asks if Naralab's found it yet, and she says, almost, I feel we'll be parting ways soon. This, of course, brings up more questions like, what is her path? Why does she not belong to humanity? Is that why she hasn't been mentioned? Is she gone? Is she dead? And why is Layla the one saying she doesn't belong to humanity? If you want to talk about humanity, you have purple glowy hands at all times, and she has normal ones. That seems a bit hypocritical. She was in the Deer and Lion story with Senadina and Litost, so I think it's safe to assume assume she's also from that planet, so maybe we'll learn more about her when we get more lore about the planet. She reminds me of Vegeta a little bit. That may be because I'm brain rotted from all the videos I made about her. When Layla tells Naralab about the missing pendant, Naralab says, "Forget about it, it's lost forever. Do you want one of my trinkets? I have a collection of them. I'm really good at finding trinkets that are pretty and cute." Does anyone else see the correlation, or am I just tripping? Seraphim also calls Naralab her aunt. There's gotta be something there. Speaking of Seraphim, I think we should keep tabs on her. Not only because Seraphim knows who Naralab is, but also because she's talking to Layla face to face in this scene. I remember in chapter 7, they didn't dwell on it too much, but they mentioned it was strange that Seraphim is here, even though they had traveled back in time to the Third Ten Shoes War, and the Seven Shoes shouldn't have been a thing yet. After completing chapter 7 EX, we get a page of a child's diary. I think that child is Seraphim because the diary entries are in the same format. The diary doesn't give us much. It's just someone explaining that they're sad Layla won't get out of the tower. I think this is just evidence that someone else was there when Layla was around. Again, I think it's Seraphim, but who knows. After completing chapter 7 EX, I can confidently say the her that Litost and Seraphim were talking about in the conversation in chapter 7 is Layla, because Litost says she's drowning in memories and she's terribly lonely, and he actually tasks Seraphim with guiding Layla out of it. So Seraphim definitely knows more than she's letting on. Something that I forgot to mention before, Litost says that Layla drowning in memories of Senna is against their mission and might reenact the tragedy of our homeland. I don't know what their mission is, to make Layla a great goddess of Mars? I'm not sure. This is also apparently similar to the tragedy on their planet, so I wonder if someone became obsessed with another person over there, freaked out, and caused chaos. If that's the case, it's already been reenacted, Litost. I think you're too late. That's all I have for this video. I'm really sorry if it was a bit messy. Like I said, I'm working on a tight schedule and I wrote this script in a day. That's my bad. I should have thought of doing this video sooner, but I hope you guys enjoyed it anyways. Subscribe for more Honkai theories like this one. Like the video if you liked it, and I will see you all in chapter 8.